Welcome to, I don't even know what I'm going to call this episode, but welcome to Terrific Creations. I am Terry Lucas, author of Color, Thread, and Free Motion Quilting. Learn to stitch with reckless abandon. And I say that almost every time I come on here. And today it is wildly important because Tracy and I are going to continue our conversation that we started on her channel last week, which there will be a link in the show notes. We're going to um, uh, do that today. We're going to talk color today. And right before we got on, Tracy sent me a couple of images from her phone, and one of them was the colors since 2000 that Pantone has released. And I was actually kind of delighted to see to see a couple of things. One, the colors over the last like 25 years have been kind of reds and greens, a little yellow. There
Mhm.
were 2 years where they released two colors. And one of them was in 2016, and I don't remember people getting in such an uproar about that one. Then it and I liked that colors because when I was a teenager I would wear that exact color combination. And then in 2021, and I kind of got this one, they released yellow and gray, and I think there was a collective experience, partly because in the quilting world we had been seeing a lot of yellow gray for years, and all of us are sort of, can I say we're done with that? Okay,
Yes.
we're done with that. This year's color of the year has provoked a very strong reaction in people. And Tracy and I actually have opposite reactions, and so we're gonna dive in. We're gonna dive in. Um, so Tracy, would you like to? I'm gonna throw the ball in your court.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to preface this by saying how when did we meet? What year?
I think we met officially. I started working for Generation Q in 2014.
Okay, that's what I
And
was thinking.
then I
Okay.
think, uh, yeah, I think that's when we
That's
met.
when we met.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2014, which was Radiant Orchid. That was a
That
good
was a
year.
good year.
That was a good year. Um, you and I have been discussing the Pantone color of the year since then, since we met.
Right. And do you remember, so the my most favorite time of talking color of the year with you, I was staying at your house. We
Hmm.
were heading over to the Bernina Ambassador reunion, and they announced it while we were in the car. And like,
Hmm.
we could not have been more like giddy that we heard it at the same time in the same place.
Hmm.
And that
Hmm.
must have been that that must have been 2015. I think
Yes.
it must have been
I
2015.
think it was Marsala.
Yeah,
It had to be Marsala.
it had to be. Which oddly enough, now that I'm looking at it on this phone, it looks like a shade of brown. And at the time
It
at the time I was thinking, which oddly enough, then last year, in the Mocha Mousse.
mm,
Hmm. Yeah.
mm,
But
mm.
all right.
I prefer Marsala over the Mocha Mousse. However, so my reaction was definitely the opposite of yours, and I think what's been really interesting to view from sort of a journalistic perspective is the collective like uproar over this color. And I think at best it's boring and overdone. And at worst, it's been seen as extremely problematic and in a political sense, right? And we can say that it's people consider it whitewashing, um, uh, a nod to white supremacy, as extreme as that. And as one of the funniest things that I heard about this color is that it was, the landlord special, essentially. Um, so I feel a bit disappointed in the color. I think, and I've had multiple discussions about this because in science it's seen as all of the colors, and from what I've, it's a prism in science, in physics it's considered a prism of all the colors, and in color theory it's the absence of color.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I
know.
have been told off of several times in the past week by people who consider themselves study artists and studiers of color, who've said, no, 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 you're wrong. And I'm like, but color theory says it's the absence of color. And so to me, I thought, what the heck? That was you got my first reaction. We were texting and I said, so the color of the year is the absence of color. Like, is the world ending? Is what I said.
You did ask me if the world was ending, but and oddly enough, that conversation continues. Is the world ending?
Hmm.
At some point, yes, it will. When? No, no. I have no idea when. Um, it, and I actually appreciated, like, I have to say, I am appreciating the conversation because it
Me too.
allows us to continue talking about color as artists, right? Talking about how we use color, how we view color, how we interact with color. In fact, I think last week when we talked on your channel, or when we talked on your channel about color, um, one of the things that I said was, Tracy, let's bring color back. Because we
Hmm.
had been talking about, you and I have a particular dislike of this yellow gray combination that seems to have been present for a longer period of time in the quilting
Hmm.
world than either
Hmm.
one of us would like
Right.
desire.
I particularly hate the grayish
Yes.
tend, which, I jokingly refer to it as grayish because it's not quite taupe, but it's a little more gray than taupe. But yes.
Yeah. And oddly enough, uh, I am start I had before Pantone um released their color of the year, I had already planned on doing a remake of Split Complementarity.
Hmm.
So people, I'm going to start probably, I'll start posting probably late January or early February. But I'm going to remake Split Complementarity. And part of so I don't know what the quilt is going to look like. So, I've been sent a box of remnants from Cherrywood. Gosh, right? It is it is filled with color. I will post in a day or so. I'll post. By the time this comes out, I will have posted it on Instagram, at least some more of it. Um, and part of what I want to explore is split complement. So a split complement in the color world is if you're looking at a color wheel and you choose yellow, well, then you go directly across, find the complement, and then start incorporating color from 1 to 2 shades, or 1 to 2 tones, colors, hues on either side of that, right? But in each color, there are colors that go through black where they get deeper and richer, and then there are colors that go through white that get lighter and brighter. So there's a very broad way to look at how color incorporates. And I discovered a few years ago that out of that particular block that I use, I can get using the same colors in different locations, I can get what looks like, I think either 5 or 6 different looks. It may be a little bit more, but I can get several different looks out of that, creating different emphasis as I in the block. Um, now, so I want to, I'm going to ask you I'm going to come back to the Pantone color of the year, which is that they call it Dream Dancer. Is that what it is? Dream Dancer.
Cloud
Cloud
Dancer.
Dancer. Cloud Dancer. Okay. So if we were in a quilting class, and I kind of know where I'm going with this. I don't know how you're gonna respond. So if we were in, so I teach doodling. If I put a blank piece of paper down in front of you with a pencil and said draw whatever you want, what's your immediate reaction?
I probably would freeze briefly. Hmm. Because it's a blank piece of paper and I don't know what to draw. You didn't give me any suggestions.
Right.
And I know that you love it because that's what how you perceive it. I totally get that.
No, so actually what I want
Hmm.
to and it's actually kind of aligned with how like a lot of people's reactions. White for us, for a lot of reasons, evokes a sense of fear, in part because in whatever we're looking at, the possibilities are then endless. And I see this in the quilting world because that's where we live. Um, that sense of like the sense of what if I make a mistake
Hmm.
lives so closely to our creative core that it literally paralyzes us, right? Uh,
Hmm.
so in the broadest sense, I get why people are freaked out by this, both from the political sensibilities to the what it reminds them of. Um,
Hmm.
so when I read the comment about landlord special or whatever it was, like
Mm.
I saw it a
Yeah.
couple of different ways. I'm like, oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I don't know that you know this, but I grew up in the projects, and that's what they
Yeah.
everything's painted white.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, you can see behind me. I we just moved into our house. Our entire house is white.
right,
Because we just bought the house. It's a blank slate. It's a blank slate.
right. So the same this let's see the same kind of thing so here in Central Texas, or at least what I've seen here in Central Texas when we were looking at houses, what they paint here is lovingly termed as agreeable gray.
Hmm.
So when they showed that image of the cloud dancer, that agreeable gray kind of is in that
Hmm.
scale of
Yes, it's a very gray white.
it's a very
Yes.
gray white. And I looked at my head. So the color of the year actually evoked a conversation with my husband and I hate this. He loves it
Hmm. Hmm.
because for him it's a blank canvas. For me, at some point I wanted to paint my kitchen Tuscan yellow, right? Because it is a very bright, very happy color. Yellow, actually, for a lot of people, evokes the same kind of fear because yellow, so I'm looking at the quilt behind you, and my eye goes to two different places.
Okay.
One, you've got that streak of white going up
Hmm. Hmm.
in your log cabin, but
Hmm.
also one of the strongest colors in there, because it is a very independent color, is the yellow that you have running through there. And
Hmm.
it's in different places. It's used very carefully. So your eye can travel around the quilt right?
Mhm.
Without um without being like so much yellow that it's overwhelming, right? And then the quilt behind your other shoulder has some yellow and white in it as well.
Yes. Kind of a chartreuse yellow.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how it reads on the camera, but in real
On the
life,
camera,
it's
it
kind
reads
of
a little bit
chartreuse
of yellow,
yellow.
but it stands
Mm-hmm.
out, and it partly stands out more against the red, right? But it
Mm-hmm.
really,
Mm-hmm.
both of those actually allow the red to be the dominant color, even though there is more white and there is more of the
Yes.
chartreuse, right?
Right.
So 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 this is really, from what I've been watching, evoking a deep sense of fear. It is as though somebody put a blank canvas down in front of us, gave us all the art tools that we will ever need,
Mm-hmm.
and said, make something beautiful. So,
Mm-hmm.
so there is a very deep sense of fear with this. And then I was also noticing what's behind me. I've had
Mm-hmm.
this quilt up behind me for, I think this is the quilt that hangs in most of my filming because it is a blank canvas, right? I show up against this blank canvas, even though I have this beautiful, delightful color running through it. Now, what you can't see because of on here, I used 100 weight micro quilter. So it's a 100 weight polyester. It is a very fine thread. And so I used a very fine thread to quilt this. On one side of this, I used a blue. On the other side of it, I used a sky blue, like a baby blue. And then I used a red on the other side.
Hmm.
Unless you are up close to it, you can't see it.
No, it just you can see the quilting in some areas, but you don't notice the color necessarily.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, so what evokes fear in some people actually evokes a sense of possibility in
Mm.
others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, eh, again, let me reiterate. I get where the political stuff, the political, the deep feelings are coming from. I have a lot of
Right.
those same things myself, but I also understand that there is great possibility in this. And this can be used, the white can be used much more judiciously, like much more carefully than perhaps on this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in a way that shows off the other colors, like the quilt with the red and the chartreuse behind you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I want to bring up 2 points. So
Okay.
the first thing that I thought was interesting is, I tried to do a little bit of a deep dive on like the hashtag tag color of the year.
Right.
And what's interesting to me is seeing some of the interior designers who are like, I am so done with white. Like it's overdone. Like my kitchen cabinets are white and they're just boring. They're boring. They show up every little splash, right? It's annoying, and and so there's that perspective that it's overdone. And you and I remember from going to the Michael Miller talks at Market where they would discuss color and what was her name again?
Kathy Miller.
Kathy Miller. Kathy Miller used to teach us, to start looking for the color of the year in different places and see what colors were showing up. Specifically, Target is like the number one place to like really go and look because we will see white in the next few months just everywhere in Target. Um, and so it's that sort of disappointed me a little bit. I was like, oh, gosh, like you and I love having color. We love having color in things that we buy and even, not beyond quilts. Right? The socioeconomic part of this, because Pantone does, while it seems like we know they've been thinking about what the color of the year was going to be this year for several years.
Mhm.
It's not just a snap decision that they make in December. They don't forget that there's a color of the year announcement. They plan it and think about it for years prior. And the disappointing thing about the socioeconomic considerations of Cloud Dancer is that it is a nod to the financial landscape. It's a recession color. It's a blank slate because landlords are going to paint the apartments that color so that anyone can come in with their furniture and it's going to go, right? That's the sort of disappointing part, I think, that a lot of people feel beyond the more extreme political thoughts about the color. People want joy in their life. Like they want happiness because they've been struggling. There's a financial struggle going on. There's a recession. There's, people are struggling with finances and with work. A million people have lost jobs in the past few months,
Mhm.
and
And not for nothing.
they crave more happiness than Cloud Dancer provides.
Uh, so both you
Okay.
and I have talked about how hard it is has been for us in the quilting world over the last number of years.
Mm-hmm.
This feels as though it is the culmination, and we are for me, it
Yes.
feels like it's a culmination, and we are hitting the reset button in the quilting world,
Okay. Okay, I can see that. I
right?
can see that a reset. I'm concerned that it's not a reset. That it's sort of
Right.
we're
So,
reaching the summit, which would
and-
make sense of Cloud Dancer and Snow. Like um of these financial issues,
right,
right?
right. And in some ways, it feels like there's no place to go but down.
Mm,
But so if we're at the summit and we're going down, what we're going down into is it, so we can go down into we can go down into a couple of different things. I don't want to just limit it to two because there's always more options.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
We can go down into a deep, dark valley where where we are completely in winter. Now, uh,
mm-hmm,
we've talked about winter is not my season at all, at all. Or we can go down into where we are in spring again.
mm-hmm,
And here's the thing. I don't know if we're going down into winter, and I don't know if we're going down into spring. My desire would be that we're going down into spring, which is one of my two very favorite seasons of the year. Um, I think this is more of an autumn sky blue, but I'm wearing uh either a late spring or a mid-autumn sky blue today. Um, so so whether we're going into a deeper recession or we're going into a springtime, right? Those are two possibilities, and we have choices to make in the meantime, right? So in our last conversation, we had already talked about Tracy, let's bring color back. I mean,
mm-hmm.
those were the words that came. Tracy, let's bring color back next year. So
Yeah.
how do we start bringing color back? Well, I'm gonna remake that quilt. I'm gonna remake
Right.
that quilt. And I'm going to show options. Why am I showing options? Because there are always options in terms of how we approach our quilt making, how we approach our work, how we approach, and actually, as I'm talking, I'm thinking it has potential to be like, it has potential, like it has serious potential. I'm also looking at, when I remake the quilt, I just got Marsha Dursey's plaid line,
Mm-hmm.
which oddly enough, in looking at it, there are some there are some lighter colors, some lighter background colors. It's also still very gray. So what I'm hoping that is happening with this is that in our quilting world, that instead of everything kind of being a medium, like 90% of the fabrics.
Medium. Yes.
Right. What
Right.
I'm hoping is that we're heading away from everything being a medium toned color to things that are potentially lighter and brighter, giving us a broader depth in how and what colors that we have available to us to create those interesting things in our quilts.
Hmm. And I think it's an interesting place to bring up the Kona color of the year, which is couldn't be further from Cloud Dancer. It's called Wander, and it's a beautiful green, bright green.
Mhm.
And the other photo that I sent you was a photo of uh, the the
Color Class Ink.
color of the year, which Colorado is another company that that chooses that is color based, and I guess they have their own sort of color theory on how to choose color. But their color is called oh darn it, I didn't screenshot the color. It's a beautiful teal. I think it's called, gosh, tantalizingly teal or something like that. Transformative teal, which is closer to Wander than, I guess Wander's much brighter, but it's a very blue teal. But it's such a pretty color. And the other thing, that the one that I clicked on was people are saying that they would prefer, I don't know that I can pronounce it. Fallow gray,
Uh,
P
uh,
T
uh,
H P H T
I think
H
it's phthalate.
fallow. Yes, it's from phthalo as
Yeah.
green, phthalo phthalo green, and it's a beautiful. It's like the color that you imagine when you close your eyes and picture a green velvet vintage sofa.
So that green that you're talking about is actually if you look at that color,
Mm-hmm.
they're the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Very similar. Yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
It, so so
A blue green.
right. They're very deep, rich, so I think I've been talking color with Joan,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Now, I learned something very interesting about color a few weeks ago. First of all, Joan has been blowing my mind. So Joan actually has looked into the science of color.
Mm-hmm.
Like that color actually is a science. And what we've learned as the red, yellow, blue color wheel is actually
Mm-hmm.
inaccurate. It's actually magenta, yellow, and cyan or turquoise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the interesting thing that I learned about about some of these colors is instead um she actually has she's painted everything on 3x5 cards. She's gotten the magenta, the cyan, the yellow from, whichever company, and just painted all these cards. To get avocado green, to get chartreuse, to get, some of those deeper, richer greens that we all just like fall, which kind of falls into this, um, uh, you start adding black, not blue.
Interesting.
And it
Interesting.
blew my mind. Now, here I would
Mm-hmm.
say, looking at that green, that phthalo green, there is blue in there, but there would also be a deep, rich black. There would be black in there to
Yes.
get that,
Yes. Very
to
much.
really get that rich color. Okay. And green is a very hopeful color. So if you
Mm-hmm.
look at, so we have a blank canvas and a
It's
hopeful
hopeful yet grounding. is what I thought of when I looked at Wander from
Yes.
Kona.
Wander is a green that I can get into.
Yes, I
Partly
agree.
because like I love to wander. Um, Not all who wander are lost.
Correct.
But also it's kind of that mid-spring
Mm-hmm.
color. Which
Mm-hmm.
so we were talking just a minute ago, are we heading into winter or are we heading into spring? So these other companies are telling us where we're actually going.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our blank canvas and we're heading into spring.
Interesting. Interesting. I'm also thinking about the Benjamin Moore color of the year,
Oh,
which I'll send you screenshots of all of these so you
okay.
can hopefully drop them into the video. But it's called Silhouette, and it is a very brown black, and it is beautiful. It is. I love it. I love it. I actually would like to. I want to paint something in my house that color because it's just such a warm black, and not too dark. It's like a charcoal, but more brown than gray.
Now, okay, so it's actually heading toward that it's I pulled it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in a room, that's going to ground that here it is. It's
Yes.
going to
Ground
ground
it.
a room.
Yes.
Now,
Exactly.
if my walls were this color, I would feel a little closed in. I don't I think back in
But
the
see, I like that because I think it feels cozy.
cozy, yes. But
I
see,
think it feels cozy.
so what we're seeing is two colors that highlight other colors. So this silhouette, something else is going to pop off of it.
Yes.
When you're looking at this, all of Melanie Testa's fabric pop off of this.
Mm-hmm.
The green would pop off this. Either
Yes.
green would pop off
Right.
of this. Wander or that the teal, that color I'm
Yes.
putting out there, right?
Absolutely.
So these are colors that highlight, that give another color the opportunity to stand out completely
Mm-hmm.
on their own without that is a brown gray that I could first of all, I think I could wear that. Right.
I think a lot of people could wear that. I
Right.
just think it's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
Where from you're wearing black. I think
Mm-hmm.
you're wearing black.
Charcoal. Yeah, I'm wearing sort of a charcoal gray.
Right.
It reads it black, I'm sure, on camera, but
It yeah, it does. But you do tend like you and I often have the conversation, Tracy, you need to wear color on camera. But
and
actually,
my argument is that I'm surrounded by color every single day. I take the sort of Steve Jobs thing. I don't want to think about color in my clothes. Like I just want to put on some clothes and go.
right. And so you think about
Mhm.
clothing the way that I think about my hair,
Well,
right?
there you go. Yeah, yeah,
See?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
for me, I just want to wash it and go.
Right,
Right. So,
right.
all right. So there, this is like this is complicated this year.
I
But
feel like the
I love
color's
it.
always complicated. That's the thing is that, even when I'm going to look back at the color chart of the entire year that I sent you. And I look back, so the first year that I remember being aware was 2013 when it was Emerald.
Yes.
And I remember everyone loved that one. Like, for the most part, I think I remembered there were a lot of quilters who got, color of the year phone cases. I'm pretty sure I had one. And color of the year mugs and things like that. Right. And back then, I think Marsala was sort of like, people were like, oh, like, I don't remember. I think it was like a lukewarm.
It was a lukewarm reception. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody actually, but
But then 2016, when it was pink and blue,
pink and gray.
I remember we thought, like, I remember my thought was, are we really going back to like 1990? Was my thought, because I just remember like all those country colors back in like the late 80s and early 90s were pink and blue.
Hmm.
And then, I feel like things were okay until we got to 2021, which my comment, and I apologize for this comment, but I said it was bipolar. Like, I just thought, like, I just didn't know better to not say that, you know. But it, I just remember we were like, ugh.
I,
I
I,
didn't like the yellow, and I mean, the gray's fine. I think the gray is a nice gray,
I,
but I really didn't like that yellow, and
I think a lot of the reaction that I remember at the time was couldn't they just like they couldn't make up their minds. But then when you sent me that whole
yes,
chart from the entirety of this current millennia, I was thinking I was looking at it and went, oh, they've done this before. Like it hadn't when
mm-hmm,
that came out, I didn't remember that they had done that,
the
that they
pink
had
and
picked
blue.
two.
I had forgotten as well. I agree. I think that those colors in 2016 were forgettable, and that's why we didn't remember.
Right.
The
So
yellow and gray were very.
and I think
I
at
don't.
that point in the quilting world,
Mhm.
by the time that was released, you and I were already tired of that yellow gray color combination in the quilting.
Yeah, I agree. Agree. And I don't remember that one being as noticeable out in the world. Like, I don't remember products embracing the yellow and gray.
No, I,
And honestly, I don't really remember Very Perry the next year being embraced as well.
I, you know, it felt off. I think if I remember, it just felt a
Yeah,
little
it
off.
didn't
Like
feel right.
we didn't. It was like for every one of us. Why are there so? Why could we have an entire section, like an entire row of brown? Because we're always looking for the right brown, right?
Yes.
So
And the
uh,
right green.
and the right green, right? And I think the collective sigh with the two greens that I'm seeing was that, oh, we've got the right green. We've like
Mm,
Wander is
mm-hmm.
the right green.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The that teal from Coloro, it's the right green.
Yes.
Right? That
Yes.
fallow.
And if anyone has ever tried to go paint a room in their house green, they know how difficult it is. I remember I was looking for a green for my kitchen at one point, and it took so many trips to the store to find the right green because there are so many shades of green. And so to get the right green, I think is an impressive feat. And there's probably a range of colors that they could have chosen
Well,
that would have been appropriate as well.
all right. So one of the things, so on C&T's color wheel,
Hmm.
right? Um, one of the things that one of the things that Joan in developing the color wheel was trying to show us is that no matter what the hue is, there's variations of that. So there's
Hmm.
going to be there's going to be variations of Wander. There's going to be variations of the teal. There's going to be variations of the phthalo. There's variations in all of that. So you're right. Color is a range. It is not a hard and fast. And one of the things that we've seen over the last like 15 years is that it because it is a range, the possibilities then are endless, which is partly what makes white so scary. Because the possibilities are endless. And and as we get over the thought of making a mistake, because we're all going to make mistakes. No quilt is perfect, right? No quilt is perfect. No work of art is perfect. But when we step back from something and take a good hard look at it, what we see is the overwhelming beauty, right? So with the like if we come up with a color palette of what's the forecast, right? So the white, that brown gray, the two greens that we're seeing, right? We've got a rich palette that we can start working with that gives us darks, mediums, and lights, and then a range of color that we can bring in to add depth to what we're doing.
Hmm. Oh, nice.
Have you seen this?
No, is it new?
Not particularly. Let me
Oh, oh my gosh. I literally have it right here. I just looked up and I was like, there it is. I opened it. Oh, because I probably talked about it with Amy. Oh, I'm excited now. I forgot I had this.
You're welcome. Okay.
Oh, it's reading much lighter than.
Well, on camera, it would read much later.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty close to Wander. It's bright.
But
No, maybe
so
this one.
so as you look, oh, there you go.
Uh-huh. Which one is that?
That is car, it's green 5F.
5F. Okay. I picked up
I think
5A, 5E, 5F. Ah, yes. Yeah, I was thinking maybe 5A. They're very close.
they're very close, but 5F is a little bit richer, a
Uh-huh.
little bit more black in 5F.
Right. Shade one, add black, it says.
Now, oh, did I get it? Look,
Ooh, yes.
looking for something here. Can I find it?
I'm so glad you reminded me that I had these. Except I'm afraid I'm gonna knock them out of order.
Yes, but you can always refine the order.
That's true.
Okay, look.
Oh, pretty.
All right, so I'm going to change the position just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that we as quilters do is we go by percentages. So something we may use more or less of something in a quilt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, white is going to make a stand, right? It's going to be present, even
Yes.
when we use a little bit.
Yes.
When we use a little bit.
It was very noticeable. My eye was drawn there immediately when you shrunk it down.
Right. Right. So it can be a major player in smaller bits. So that's one thing to think about as we're as like if we want to draw somebody's eye to something, then we can use a lighter color in a smaller amount and that will pull directionally, it'll pull our eye towards wherever that is. So that becomes it can become a focal point. So if you look at your log cabin behind you,
Mm-hmm.
our eye goes along with the diagonal.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, as I look at your diagonals, wherever I hit that yellow, I pause and take a look.
Hmm.
So you have a lot of little focal points along the way as as the eye is drawn diagonally across the quilt. So a color palette like this, right? So these are close to the
The colors,
colors,
all the
right?
colors we've discussed.
All the
Yes.
colors we've discussed. Now we have a light and a dark, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're two essentially in the range of this, they're the darks, right? But
Yes.
next to each other,
Yes.
they're a light and a dark,
Right.
right? Because there's enough contrast between the
Mm-hmm.
two of them,
At the
and
very least, a medium and a dark.
they are,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in a different setting, they're going to play a little bit differently. So
Right.
so with all of the colors that we've been talking about, we can play with how we use them, and then even in that, we were both pulling from the green section to get Wander and the the teal, that kind of deep, rich teal, dark green, phthalo green kind of color. So even in that, there is a range of color that can give anything, any kind of artwork that we're pulling towards a depth and an interesting look.
Hmm.
Even in Cloud Dancer, if you think of when you look at the clouds, they're not always pure white,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they can border on the agreeable gray that I have here.
Right.
Can you tell how I feel about that?
I think that sort of brings us back to the original point, right?
Right.
Which was that I think everyone's having a visceral reaction to this because that is their experience with white or gray.
Yes.
Like it's institutional. It's 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 the color that landlords slap over the walls before they, and don't clean before they, like that kind of, those are the kind of things that people think about when they see these colors.
Yeah.
Plus there are other negative places where they associate white,
Hmm.
and in some ways I can tend to agree with people who feel like there are so many colors to choose from, and it feels like it doesn't draw from any culture, any history, any of those warm things that people feel when they see, different, what are the words that I'm trying to find, like when you think about Mexican culture, you think about like really rich, bright colors and terracottas and blues and greens and all of the and oranges and wonderful colors. And there's just such a spectrum of color, and this feels like it just feels disappointing, I think,
Well,
to everyone.
so so
Not everyone.
I'm
I'm not
gonna
going to say everyone. There are some
no.
people who absolutely were like, "Ooh, I'm here for it." You know, like,
I, I, so wanna I'm gonna presume that you know who Harry Chapin is.
yes, of course.
Okay. Yeah, we are definitely of the same generation. So Harry
Hmm.
Chapin has a song about children and learning and how this little kid goes to school and his song is there's so many colors in the rainbow, there's so many colors in the morning sun, right? And he goes on, but his teacher and this is in part what we it, it this is in part what we are reacting to very strongly to,
Hmm.
along with other negative things. But when we were in grade school, so we were in grade school in the 70s and 80s,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
some even, a lot of cultures even before that, flowers were always red and leaves and
Yes.
grass were always green, tree
Hmm.
trunks were always brown,
Hmm.
the sun was yellow, and the more we
Right.
know about the more we know about light, we know that that is actually not true, right? So there there's 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 that in play,
Right.
right? and and as a teacher I run into that a lot. A quilt is supposed to be this. No, a
Hmm.
quilt can be whatever,
Right.
you know, the quilt, if you have a particular bent in that area, yeah, have at it. But if you don't like that, then go pick what you want. And
Right.
if it doesn't work,
Which I think, to your point, is the opposite of what we were taught in grade school, right?
yes, it is totally, and it's actually the point that Harry's making in the song.
Hmm.
There are so many colors in the rainbow, but in order the way that those colors are revealed is through a prism. So
Hmm.
what's our own personal, so as human beings, we're each a prism. How are the colors being reflected? How are we going to broadcast the color of who we are? How are you,
Yeah.
Tracy, going to broadcast the color of who you are as a quilt maker and somebody who, like, you're one of those people in the quilting world that uh, I follow you, but I kind of more walk beside you, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, but you're somebody in the quilting world that I want to watch because not because of not because of your quilting, but because of how you read things, right?
Hmm.
You read the quilting world a particular way, and it is cool to watch how you read that. Now,
Well, and I think you get to see it. You get to see it more in depth
yeah,
than what I think most people get to see as
right.
well. Right?
So, right. So I actually have, it's been, to some degree, it's been painful to watch the conversation because
Mm,
people are really, there
they're
is
really upset.
strong
They're
reaction to,
really upset.
they're
Uh,
really upset about
they're
this.
really, really upset because I think, people clearly don't want white. They don't want it. They
Right.
want they want something that is going to evoke happiness and joy and not something is that they consider with negative things,
Mhm.
like living in a cheap apartment or going, I almost want to say at least it wasn't DMV gray, you know. Um but like it could have been worse, right?
Part of
But
me wants to
some
say
DMVs are white as well, so it depends on your DMV. You
right.
know.
It really does. It really does. I think the most important thing for us as quilt makers and quilt makers and teachers is um to remind people that they have the agency to use it or not in
Right.
their work.
Right.
And if it is really that vile and is evoking some really painful memories for you, please don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
Go go for go for wander, go for that teal or phthalo green
Mm-hmm.
because they are much more hopeful than the white. Um, but also like I wouldn't say that the gray is particularly hopeful, but it brings a balance to the white and the green that it's actually rather fascinating to watch. So,
Mm-hmm.
but also if you don't like white, don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
know.
and my message, I think, to everyone would be to just keep your eye out.
Mhm,
Keep your eye out how and where you are seeing this color in the next year. We may see a lot of it, or companies may see that this reaction was so bad that they might go in a different direction.
mhm,
And so but be aware. Be aware of the colors that you see when you go into stores like Target, when you go into a mall and you're in a department store. Notice the colors that you are seeing around you, whether it's in clothes or home goods or appliances, all of those things. Notice what colors are trending. And even as you're looking through Instagram or wherever you follow quilters,
mhm,
you can see what people are using in their quilts. Are they a quilter who uses the same colors over and over again? Are they a quilter who always has something different? They may, but see, I think as quilters, we also tend to gravitate towards like a range of colors that we like. And so just start noticing color wherever you are.
and and if you're so not only notice it. but notice how you personally engage with color,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, is it a green that you like? If it is, make sure you bring more of that into your own work, your own personal sense of style, your own home, right? In
Mm-hmm.
some way, bring it into your home because that is the place where you spend your downtime. That is the place that you go for rest. So bring in color where it will be restful for you
Mm-hmm.
and give you a place. And if you don't like any of these colors, it's okay. They're going to give us a new one next year.
Or just use what you like because you're allowed to.
Right? Yeah. It is so weird. We are allowed to.
Well, and I also just thought one more thing. If you have a really strong reaction to it, whether you love a color or you hate it, take a moment and ask yourself why you're having that reaction. And see if there's something in your past that makes you think about, oh, I don't like that color because that color was whatever,
Right. And
worn by a person you didn't like, or in a building that you had a bad experience in,
mhm,
that kind of thing.
yeah. Oddly, the one last thing about the color in my house, I was actually glad that it was not white, but the gray is just, I make a good Calvin and Hobbes face.
I will say the white in my house made the photos look,
That's the other thing it does.
it made all of the photos look incredible. And so it also made it look bigger, because everything, the ceiling and the walls are all the same color. And, I am looking forward to choosing colors and painting each room and deciding to add in a little personality.
Hmm. When I finally get around to painting this, I'm in my quilting room. When I get around to painting this, the wall that's in front of me where my sewing machine is, is going to be, are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
An orange.
Orange. Shocked.
Are
I'm
you?
so shocked, Terry, that you would choose orange.
I know, right?
Terry and I both speak sarcasm fluently.
Okay, so my sisters and I have been having the color conversation, and it's actually been kind of fun because my youngest sister has an art degree, um, and she also has a license in landscape design.
Okay.
Sh- She's wicked smart.
Nice.
We were talking about our favorite colors the other night. Just need to find the text. One sister, oh my gosh. So as I'm flipping through this conversation, um, it's giving receipt paper vibes.
Receipt paper. Wow. Yeah.
Let's see. It's a little further up. One sister, her favorite color is pink. One sister, her favorite color is green. So I need to send her the color of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my favorite colors are purple and orange. And then the one whose favorite color is green. She also likes blue. Did the other one? Oh my gosh, one sister doesn't even know what Pantone is.
Wow. Wow.
Now, sister, if you ever watch this, I'm not laughing at you. I just find it amusing.
No, I mean, I think that a lot of people were probably not aware of Pantone Color of the Year. But there was such an uproar. I think a lot of people are now aware of the Pantone color of the year. You know, I mean, it's an interesting thing, and it's funny because as you were saying, what people's favorite color is, I feel like my favorite color is in transition.
Oh, tell me more.
Yeah, yeah. Because when you were talking about your reaction to a color, I immediately thought of like my favorite colors over the year. When I was younger, my favorite color was beautiful. My favorite color was periwinkle when I was younger,
You
but
must have loved that one year.
I didn't because it was not the right color periwinkle. Like it was a little too dark. And so I like a light periwinkle, and I always liked it because I like the word periwinkle. I just think it's a fun word. And I always have thought it was a fun word, and I always it was my favorite crayon. And so when I was younger, my favorite color was periwinkle. And then I thought, then it switched, and my favorite color was red. And I thought about when you were talking, I was thinking about why my favorite color was red. And all of a sudden, the first thought that popped into my head was I used to have red hair. And I remembered at one point that I realized I could wear red. I had never thought I could wear red. And I had a red sweater. And there was a day when I was having problems at work. And there was there was a I got hired at a job. It was one of my first jobs, like as an adult, full-time jobs. And the person who was like the boss was on maternity leave when I got hired. And she came back and she didn't like me. And I realized one day that she said, she turned to me and she said, "Wow, you laugh just like someone I used to know." And it didn't seem like a good person she knew. And so I really just think I reminded her of someone that she didn't like. And so she just never really gave me a chance. And one day she called me into the office because my son's bus was late picking him up. And so I was late to work. And I literally was, I think, 5 minutes late. And she called me in and was telling me that it was such a problem, blah, blah, blah. And I had worn red that day. And I don't know what possessed me, but I just found my backbone and I was like, well, then I think we're going to have a problem here because if I have to leave my 8-year-old son yeah, I lived in the city. It was like, on the side of the road just to be here on time, then we're going to have a problem. I think maybe this is the end of the road. And so I thought about that and how proud I was of myself for standing up for myself. And I think that was sort of the turning point of my like, absolute love of red. It made me feel strong. And so when I wear red, I feel powerful. I feel in control. But now my hair has gone white and I suddenly can wear pink. And so pink is slightly edging into a favorite color of mine. So I still don't really think I don't know that I use pink a lot of pink in my quilts. I'm looking around the room like, do I have a lot of
Turn
pink? I don't
around.
think I do.
Turn around.
Oh, there is a lot of pink in that one. You're right. There's a lot of pink in that one. Oh, and there's a lot of this pink. I mean, I didn't make those.
Don't I was gonna say, don't you have a pink quilt that I made?
It's right there.
And there's brick red.
Yeah. So pink and pink and like this kind of a
Oh, look,
green.
it's teal.
Yeah, are in my sewing room a lot.
So, how do you get those colors?
I have no idea.
How do you get pink? Add white to
Or
red.
white to red. Yeah.
How do you get that teal? You add
White.
white to
Yeah.
turquoise.
Yeah.
The only way to get that
Is to
is,
add white.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So I added white to the red.
Yes. And now you can wear pink.
I can wear pink. Well, there you go.
And that is such a delightful note that I think we
Perfect
will.
ending.
It is the perfect ending. It is absolutely the perfect ending. Thank you everybody for joining Tracy and I for this conversation on color. I think Tracy and I are going to continue this conversation over the next period of time because I want to see, like, I think both of us are interested to see how this conversation continues. But also, I think
Yeah.
I want to bring Tracy in on the remake of Split Complementarity and how things are going with that. Um, Also, I don't know if you know, Tracy is very honest with me, and she will tell me if things suck. Just saying. So,
In
thank you
a
for
nice way.
joining.
In a
What?
nice way. In a nice way.
Yeah. It is a it is actually a very nice way. So thank you everybody for joining us today. And if you have any comments, leave them below. There are a couple of things that I will link to in the show notes. All the colors of the year I will link to wherever I find them. Um, tell us what you think about Tell us what you think about the color of the year for Pantone, and also like what your favorite color is. And have a great day and go color your quilts.